ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। मौनव्याख्या प्रकटितपरब्रह्मतत्त्वं युवानम् वर्षिष्ठान्ते वसदृशिगणैरावृतं ब्रह्मनिष्ठैः आचार्येन्द्रं करकलितचिन्मुद्रमानन्दरूपम् स्वात्मा रामं मुदितवदनं दक्षिणामूर्तिमीडे वटविटपि समीपे भूमिभागे निषण्णम् सकलमुनिजनानां ज्ञानदातारमारात् त्रिभुवनगुरुमीशं दक्षिणामूर्तिदेवम् जननमरणदुःखच्छेददक्षन्नमामि। चित्रं वटतरोर्मूले वृद्धा शिष्या गुरुर्युवा गुरोस्तु मौनं व्याख्यानं शिष्यास्तु छिन्नसंशयः निधये सर्वविद्यानां भिषजे भवरोगिणां कुरवे सर्वलोकानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ नमः प्रणवार्थाय शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। विश्वन्दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतम् पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद् भूतं यथा निद्रया यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयम् तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः माया कल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतम् मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयः स्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये यस्यैव स्फुरणं सदात्मकमसत्कल्पार्थगं भासते साक्षात् तत्त्वमसीति वेदवचसा यो बोधयत्याश्रितान् यत् साक्षात्करणात् भवेन्न पुनरावृत्तिर्भवाम्भो निधौ तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नानाछिद्रघटोदरस्थितमहा दीपप्रभाभास्वरम् ज्ञानं यस्य तु चक्षुरादिकरणद्वारा बहिस्पन्दते जानामीति तमेव भान्तमनुभात्येतत् समस्तं जगत् तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। Yeah, I'm chanting this in the beginning every day Why? So that we practice together, and so you learn the pronunciations and how to split, where to split, and it has 19 syllables in one line, and then so you have 19, so 12, and then 7, I think. Yeah, so 12 and 7, that is how it is split. Except sometimes if it's the whole line, Nana Chidra Ghatodara Sthita Mahadeepa Prabhabhaswaram, there is no split allowed. Perhaps you can take a breath, that's all. So like this, we are practicing the chant, every day, so that it is easy. So the chant is practiced. We are taking the time to do that, not so that you have a little extra time to come to the class. Yeah, the idea is you are in the class to be able to enjoy listening and practicing to the chant. Okay, so that way you firm up whatever else there is. Because some people think, oh, class is starting 5 minutes late. Why? Because in the beginning only chanting, so I can join little later. So that's not the idea. So just clarifying that. And then we still have to see this, this mantra fully. Nana Chidra Ghatodara Sthita Mahadeepa Prabhabhaswaram. So we have seen the imagery, the very beautiful example of a pot with various shaped holes upturned onto a brilliant blazing lamp, and in a dark room, we have to add this to the example, in a dark room, giving the illusion or giving the impression that there are 5 lights in different shapes, in various, and each one is situated. The location of the light can also be pointed out, because if the stomach of the pot is like this, and then one light is, one hole is situated here, the other one is here, so this hole will, direct a beam of light up to the ceiling on this side, and the other square shaped hole or a star shaped hole will be, will give a star, somewhere on this side of the room or the enclosed space or the ceiling, wherever this is, being projected. So then what happens, in the mind of the child who is looking at this, will say, oh, the star is over here, the sun is over there, the moon is, directly above. And then what? The triangle shape is somewhere here at the bottom, more on the wall. The other things are on the ceiling. Correct? So this is how the conclusion is done. And the conclusion is not in keeping with what is real. What is real is what? What is real is that one Mahadeepa Prabha Bhaswaraha. So the always ever shining, let's assume that there is an endless supply of oil and wick, so an ever shining light, which is equated, to what is called jñāpti svarūpa. Jñāpti, means jñāpti means the that knowledge which is knowledge or knowing which is undifferentiated, that all knowing which is undifferentiated into knower, known, and means of knowledge. This is what is called jñāpti svarūpa. And you have to listen carefully, because this is technical. And yesterday I talked about how this consciousness, what we call consciousness, is jñāpti svarūpa, undifferentiated consciousness. And sometimes in the translations, which we try to avoid, in the translations it is translated as pure consciousness. Why do we avoid the word pure consciousness? Because otherwise then we have to explain the existence. We start thinking that there is impure consciousness. So these kinds of problems must be avoided. So therefore we don't use the word pure consciousness. But here what they mean when the other translators and scholars use the word pure consciousness is that it is undifferentiated and it is, unmediated by the divisions, undivided, unmediated by divisions of that same consciousness which manifests as knower, manifests as known. What is knower? Subject. What is known? Object of consciousness. Object of consciousness is non-separate from consciousness. That is how you get the non-duality. Subject is also non-separate from consciousness, and that which is, which comes in between the subject and the object, which is the means of knowing, pratyaksha, etc., seeing, hearing, etc., is also non-separate from consciousness. Then is the consciousness knower? No, consciousness is all pervasive, limitless, Satchidananda, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. That is which is the only source of limitless existence, is consciousness. Then is the consciousness known? No, it cannot be known other than as myself. It cannot be known as an object. That is what is consciousness. And then, so it is not the knower, it's not the known, it's not the means of knowledge, yet it is limitless enough to morph into the means of knowledge, to morph as the knower, to manifest itself as the known, without being any one of them. And that is why this jñāpti svarūpa, then, jñāpti svarūpa is Chaitanya, and this Chaitanya is manifest as adhishthana. Yesterday we saw adhishthana. Adhishthana Chaitanya means what? This expression is used only when we are talking of a projected Jagat. When the Jagat is not there, there is no need to say adhishthana Chaitanya. Because adhishthana means that upon which everything is superimposed, such as name, form, etc. So if there is no Jagat, then if there is nothing that is superimposed, you don't need to use the word adhishthana Chaitanya. Adhishthana Chaitanya is that manifestation of the jñāpti svarūpa, and as though manifestation and as though projection, where this, where the jñāpti svarūpa acquires the name adhishthana Chaitanya, the basis, the truth of everything. For lack of a better word for translating, the basis of everything. And some people use the word substratum. I don't even like that too much. That which becomes that upon which something is projected. Like all the names, all the forms are projected on that. Like even, we cannot have a snake, a rope snake, without the presence of the rope. So the presence of the rope is adhishthana. And supposing if you saw the rope as rope, then there is no snake to be projected, then the rope doesn't become adhishthana. Rope remains rope. So similarly, the adhishthana Chaitanya is a name that this jñāpti svarūpa, this all-knowing being, acquires, when we have to explain that every single, name and form in the universe is pervaded by this jñāpti svarūpa, and this jñāpti svarūpa that pervades every single name and form in the universe gets the name adhishthana Chaitanya. And then what? So the one who is, the one who is, the knower, the jñāta, that jñāta also is there. The one who says this is cat, this is hat, this is mat, etc. The one who takes all the names and forms in the universe and then, is able to rattle them off, unendingly. That one is, that consciousness which in the form of the knower is there, pointing to discrete words and meanings, names and forms, is called vrittigata Chaitanya. So vrittigata Chaitanya means, in other words, the knower. Okay? So vrittigata Chaitanya. And then, then we have Sakshi Chaitanya, the third, as though differentiation of this jñāpti svarūpa. Sakshi Chaitanya means, what is Sakshi? Sakshi means witness. So certain things are known through witness consciousness. Like certain, emotional issues. I am sad. No, I'm not sad. I'm observing the sadness. I'm hungry. No, I'm not hungry. I'm observing the presence of the hunger. Presence of the hunger becomes evident to me. Even ignorance. Ignorance is, broadcast, made known by Sakshi Chaitanya. I don't think I know the truth of myself. Whether it is ignorance of what is called paravidya, self-ignorance, or whether it's ignorance of aparavidya, some discrete name and form I don't know, like I don't know Greek, I don't know this, that is illuminated, bhasita by Sakshi Chaitanya. So how many Chaitanyas are there? We already answered that question. One and only one, which is called jñāpti svarūpa by itself, which is without a second, and that jñāpti svarūpa is you, and that jñāpti svarūpa is Lord Dakṣiṇāmūrti. This is what this mantra is going to, is trying to unfold. So then we mistake it as 5 beams of light, whereas the source of light is one. This much we have seen. And then, out of that same light, then the further, talking about, this one is talking about the individual knower, as I told you yesterday. So this individual knower, let us see how that consciousness morphs, as it were, to manifest as the individual knower without undergoing any change in the, jñāpti svarūpa. Swasvarūpa aparityāgena rūpāntarāpattihi. If you really want to get technical. So, without giving up swasvarupa, its own nature, without giving up its own nature, aparityagena means without giving up its own nature, rūpāntarāpattihi. So, it obtains as different things without undergoing any change. And what is that? That's the definition of the first one we wrote here, jñāpti svarūpa, this all-knowing being. That's what, that's the definition of jñāpti svarūpa. Swasvarūpa aparityāgena, rūpāntarāpattihi. So that is what it is. So this jñāpti svarūpa becomes the nimitta karana, and in the form of the nimitta karana, that intelligent cause, so to speak, of the jagat, that nimitta karana, without undergoing, any change. Then that same jñāpti svarūpa manifests as the adhisthana without undergoing any change. That same jñāpti svarūpa is in your head as the buddhi, cognizing this, that or the other and saying, I know, without undergoing any change. That same jñāpti svarūpa shines as the sakshi, illuminating both knowledge and ignorance on a relative, relatively speaking, again without undergoing any change. So then, this jnanam, what happens? So now we are talking about the vrittigata chaitanya, how this consciousness, operates on the level of the individual knower to give rise to the status of the knower in the buddhi ahankara. So how does this happen? Let us see. So jnanam yasyatu chakshuhu adi karana dvara bahihi spandate. So this light of consciousness, knowledge is always likened to light. What else will they liken it to? So this light of consciousness, just like going through an aperture of an upturned pot with a particular hole, and then like this goes through the various golakas, the apertures of the pratyaksha pramana, the mula pramana, the first, the original pramana. So then pramana means of knowledge. So through the various means of knowledge, that same light, jñāpti svarūpa, travels as it were through the aperture called the eyes, morphing into the form and function of the eyes. Correct? It morphs into the form of the eye and performs the function of the eye without undergoing any change. Does the jñāpti svarūpa become I? No. I am jñāpti svarūpa. Jñāpti svarūpa is neither the eye nor the ear nor anything. So then, then what happens? Then you say, I see. So it's the jñāpti svarūpa that is blessing the eye, so to speak, blessing the eye without acting, really speaking, to see. So that knowledge, going through the aperture called the eyes, makes you see. And then you identify with the seeing and say, I am the seer. I have seen it with my own eyes. Same thing, that jñāpti svarūpa as though travels through the ear in order to catch the sound. And then you say, I am the hearer. The jñāpti svarūpa, goes through the nostrils to, to catch the smell of freshly fried pakodas sitting somewhere, in the kitchen. And then you say, oh, I have picked up the smell of the pakodas. I pick up the smell, You can't say, I smell, you cannot say, because that will give an entirely different meaning, You will be very soon friendless. Nobody will even come near. Correct? So therefore, you say, I pick up the smell. And then what? This is velvet. How do you know? Because I pick up the texture. I pick up the texture with my skin, and I can see, I have the sense of touch which pervades the whole body. And it's so intelligent, amazing. This is the biggest sense organ, is the sense of touch, which pervades the whole body so that we can keep safe. Yeah, so sense of pleasure, pain is there, most importantly, so that I can go away from danger. Very, very important. And so now what? So all these, and the, of course, taste, because now the pakodas, I picked up the presence of the pakodas using the smell. Now I'm not going to sit quietly. Then I put one into the mouth. Aha, taste, very, very nice. And so like this, this is how the whole thing operates. That knowing being is one. And that is Dakshinamurti sitting where? You cannot say, ask this question, sitting where? Sitting everywhere. No sitting, no standing. Everywhere, all pervasive. But coming through the eyes, it converts you into the seer. Because the ahankara is always dying to identify with something. And so it identifies with the sight. And then the seer is born. Wait, there is a hearer. Yes, hearer is born when that same knowing being, here known as Lord Dakṣiṇāmūrti in the form of the jñāpti svarūpa, going through the ears, you pick up the sound. This thing is illustrated very well in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the example that is given is the dundubhi. Dundubhi means drum. So the drum has the percussion instrument. So there is a certain, percussion. So when that percussion is heard, you know that there are drum beats. Correct? Yeah. So let's say you are coming from a distance and then you hear the faint drum beats. So you hear the general sound of the drum beat. And in the general sound of the drum beat, there is particular sounds that you hear. If you are a music aficionado, you can make out the different talams, dha, din, na, din, na, dha, din, na, ta, din, na. Like this. It's a 16-beat, very common, 16-beat talam. North Indian music, Hindustani music, what is called Hindustani music. So this is, so this dha, din, na. So then out of that you can hear this, the general beat of the drum. In that you can hear this dha, din, na. So the dha, din, na is what? Is the eyes, that same, that knowledge coming through the eyes, ears, etc. And then the general beat is that which is the undifferentiated percussion sound from which you can make out the various other sounds. Same thing with vocal music. When you hear music, that's why the sa, the primary note, it's called shajja. Shajja means shat swaraha jayante yasmat, from which all the 6 other swaras are born. So really speaking, if you say, if you enunciate any other note, re, ga, ma, pa, anything, in that you should be able to hear sa. Ah. This is what the whole idea is. So the general and the particular, the manifestation of the particular does not cancel the existence of the general, makes no change to the general. The general continues to be jñāpti svarūpa here, manifest in the particular form as seer, thinker, hearer, with the help of the identification of the buddhi, kam ahankara. This is what we have to understand. So jnanam yasya tu karana dvara chakshuradi karana dvara bahispandhate. Karana here means various instruments of knowing. Spandhate means it vibrates. Oh, there is a vibration of jñāpti svarūpa. I was waiting for this. How shall I measure? Not that kind of vibration. Okay? Yeah. Vibrates means it is alive. It comes alive. It is active. It is there. That is the kind of vibration. And then what does that aliveness, how does it manifest itself? Janami, 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 janami. I know. You know? Ghatam janami, patam janami, matham janami. I know the pot, I know the cloth, I know the, Shankar Mat. Shankar Mat means some kind of a, center for learning established by Adi Shankara. Matham janami. And then I know hat, hatam janami, katam janami, like this. And then like this, so I know. And then if you say na janami, what do you not know? Angla bhasham na janami, I don't know English. Janami iti, I know that I don't know English. It's amazing. Greek bhasham na janami, iti janami. Atmajnanam na janami, iti janami. I don't know self-knowledge, iti janami, I know. So this I know becomes that refrain of that tanpura, just playing the sa note, and when the musician is just going and not just sticking to the sa note, going all over the notes, everywhere, all over the raga, and then what? Because of the presence of the tanpura, which is giving that particular refrain, the musician is able to go all over the place. That is the whole idea. Similarly, the ahankara, the buddhi and the ahankara can go all over the place. But that janami, janami, janami continues. And what is this janami? Who is this janami? I told you yesterday, me. Yeah, that's why it ends in janami. It is me. Oh, it is you? Really? Yes. And then, it is you. That janami is me. So nowhere is me. Yes, nowhere is you. You are not the knower. So here the person saying janami, janami is invited to identify with not the sakshi, not the vrittigata chaitanya, but with jñāpti svarūpa. You cannot say, I am jñāpti svarūpa, because then you are trying to objectify that. It is a place of understanding, which even goes beyond sakshi. So that identification, and sakshi usually is the last frontier of duality. When there is something to witness, you are the sakshi. But here there is nothing to witness. You say janami of even things you don't know. That itself should say, make you see that this is what we are talking about is jñāpti svarūpa alone. Janami iti what? Tameva bhantam. So what is this jñāpti svarūpa? Without which tameva bhantam, in whose light, in whose real, light, in whose only light, in whose only source of knowledge, that jñāpti, that consciousness which is the only source of limitless existence, limitless knowledge. And then what? Tameva bhantam, only due to its presence I have become the knower. Only due to its presence can I say something is known, something is an object of consciousness. And only in its presence the whole Jagat shines after this janami. So this Janami shines, and then the Jagat says, I also exist. So Janami Bhati. Bhati means what? Effortlessly shines, because you know that Janami is jñāpti svarūpa. And that jñāpti svarūpa doesn't need a witness or doesn't need an evidence. It is self-witnessed, self-evident. It doesn't need proof of its existence. Whereas the entire Jagat, anything that can be objectified, needs a proof of its existence, and therefore it anubhati. It shines after the primary source, the only source of existence. And all other things which exist borrow their existence, borrow their shine from what? From this Janami alone. From this Bhati alone, from this Bhanam, everything shines, in response to this Bhanam, all the things that are objectified, including what? Including your own body, mind, sense complex, starting with your body, starting with your mind. Anubhati, anubhati, anubhati. Sakshitvam also anubhati. Everything anubhati, anubhati, anubhati. And then what bhati? I am bhati. Everything else anubhati. I am bhati. I am an idiot. Anubhati. That's why it's wrong. That's why it's not the final conclusion. I am bhati. I am a woman. Anubhati. I am a man. Anubhati. And I have problems with my body. Anubhati. Body, anubhati. Mind, anubhati. Everything in the Jagat. Senses, anubhati. Everything in the Jagat, anubhati. And the Jagat starts with your own body, mind, sense complex. And that, jñāpti svarūpa, which indwells every body, mind, sense complex, starting with your own body, mind, sense complex, is Bhagavan Dakshinamurti. Oh, so that means that I am Dakshinamurti. Yes. Bingo. Ding, ding. Wake up. That's what it is. So that's all it is. There's nothing more to say. And unto that Dakshinamurti, in the form of the individual jñāpti svarūpa, manifest in the individual as the indweller of the body, mind, sense complex, which lends its existence to the status of being knower without being knower, the status of being hearer without being the hearer, the status of being seer, seer, toucher, taster, whatever it is, without being any one of them. That one which shines, which is limitless enough to manifest, lend its existence to being the pramata, jñāta, knower, manta, thinker, drashta, seer, shrota, hearer, without being either manta, pramata, jñāta, drashta, shrota. These are all statuses, just like the various holes in the pot, which seems as though that the beam is going out in a particular way, and there are many sources of beams or lights. No, there's only one source, non-dually one, blazing forth source, which is you, which is worshipped here as the Lord Dakṣiṇāmurti, because of which the whole Jagat exists. It lends its presence to the whole Jagat without undergoing any change. So if this is clear, we can proceed to the next verse. Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. Now, so the fifth verse. Eham pranamapi indriyaṇyapi chalam buddhim cha shunyam viduhu stri balandha jadopamastvahamithi bhranta bhrisham vadinaha maya shakti vilasa kalpitamaha vyamoha samharine tasmai shri gurumurtaye namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. So, this is a very nice verse. Not that the others were not nice, but this is particularly interesting because we are getting into the heart of the matter. And what is the heart of the matter is, is not knowing I am the jñāpti svarūpa. And why don't people know they are jñāpti svarūpa? Why don't they know that they are just this avatara of Lord Dakṣiṇāmurti in the form of the jñāpti svarūpa? That is the question. And the answer is given here, because there are all these notions that people subscribe to that go under the rubric of various philosophies. And these various philosophies, what do? They, and people subscribe to these philosophies and become philosophers. And in fact, if you didn't know anything, it's very easy to teach. Very easy to teach, because I don't know myself and I'm here, submitting to this knowledge. But, 99 people are not, percent of the people are not like that. Usually what is there, I don't know myself, and then as a result, I have various complexes centered on the self. And even if one has complexes, those are easy to remove. I can tell the person, you're not an idiot. Relax. You're not this. Even if you say you're ignorant, you're not. You're jñāpti svarūpa, you're all-knowing consciousness. Relax. But those complexes are elevated to the level of philosophies, notions, ideologies, and, matas. Matas means certain kind of scholarly opinions. And then they have their own following. And and those are very, very difficult to remove. And these kinds of various matas means, what is that, opinions that have various large followings are addressed here to show how, because of these largely subscribed to opinions and ideologies, this knowledge that one is actually jñāpti svarūpa, and this is non-separate from Lord Dakshiṇāmurti, who is nothing but jñāpti svarūpa, is not understood. And so there are various contentious beliefs which come under the philosophies, come under the so-called philosophies, and the so-called philosophies here are the khandanam, or the critique is done so that we recognize the error of our ways, because in these philosophies will also be our own beliefs. Our own beliefs are also there in these philosophies, and those philosophies are here, put to bed, or buried underground. So, the first philosophy that is taken up, in this is the various, charvaka matam. Charvaka, charu vakyasya, meaning all that we find in this philosophy is sweet words. Very, very sweet words. And a little bit of an introduction to this Charvaka philosophy. So the Charvaka means just sweet talkers. Charu vakyasya. So these sweet talkers, so they have certain beliefs. The first belief, that which separates the Charvaka philosophy from all other philosophies is this. What is that? They don't subscribe to any other pramana other than pratyaksha. Pratyaksha pramanameva pramanam. So meaning the 5 means of knowledge. What 5 means of knowledge? The direct perception. So eyes, ears, sight, sound, touch, taste and smell. These are the only senses. Those are the only means of knowing is these 5. What about inference? We say anumanam. Charvaka says, what anumana? Anumana, shmanumana, forget anumana. What anumana? Oh, see, anumana means inference. Inference means like you wake up in the morning and then you see that the roads are wet, and then immediately you infer. What do you infer? You infer it has rained. Fa, says the Charvaka. Fu to your stupid inference, That is not a means of knowledge. What do you mean? Inference relies on what? Inference relies on pratyaksha. Because you still have to see that the roads are wet. And therefore, fu to your inference. Now, what about multi-step inference? Foo. To your multi-step inference, that also relies on pratyaksha. Every means of knowledge, even anupalabdhi, there is no pot in the palm of my hand, that also ultimately relies on pratyaksha. Upama, comparison, when you say this is like a deer but it's not exactly a deer, so then what, you have to have seen the deer, correct? And so everything relies on pratyaksha. So we have made short shrift of all means of knowledge except mula pramana pratyaksha, direct person. What you see is real. Therefore, see, we have to see what happens as a result of this belief. Only those things that you see are real. Only those things that you see are existent. How many pots do you see? Come on. Oh, I see a whole world of earthenware. Don't get all Vedantin on me. We are not talking of earth. How many pots do you see? Come on, count. Okay, 40 pots. All right, that is the reality. That the Jagat is full of, uncountable, innumerable things. That is the reality, because what? Drishtatvat, because that is what I see. So what I see is real. What I objectify is real. And so therefore duality is what? Very much real. Duality is real. So you are real? Yes, you are real because I see you. And then I am also real, yes, because when I stand in front of the mirror, I see myself. So then, how many people are there in this universe? So each one is real. But what about Ishvara? Ishvara, Shmishvara, what Ishvara? Where is Ishvara? Do you see Ishvara? Well, no. Okay, then that Ishvara doesn't exist. No, but what about jñāpti svarūpa? Do you see jñāpti svarūpa? Come on. Do you hear jñāpti svarūpa? No, but it manifests, it goes through the years. Do you see it going through the years? This big light going through the years, do you see? No, shut up. There is nothing other than this. This is all there is. You are, therefore what? You are as good as the body. You are as good as the body. And therefore we have the famous refrain from the Charvakas, Yavat jivet sukham jivet rinam kritva ghritam pivet bhasmi bhutasya dehasya punaragamanam kutaha. Where is the, as long as you live, live it up. Live to the hilt. Totally live it up, because what you see is what you get, and if you want to get, you have to fight with all the other people that are real, and then you have to get this, get that. And then what? And then even if you max out your credit card, doesn't matter, because once the body is consigned to the flames, who will come back? Who will ask you for anything? And so therefore what? See the truth of this. So therefore there is no other thing than what is seen. And what is seen alone is real. And since we see many things, since we hear many things, so the duality is real. This is the first premise of the Charvaka. Oh, is there another premise? You bet. The second premise of the Charvaka is that therefore there is only one Purushartha. So usually we talk about 4 Purusharthas. Purusharthas means the goals in life. So usually we talk about 4 goals in life. And what are those 4 goals in life? Those 4 goals in life are what? Dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Dharma, righteous living. Artha, then security. Kama is what? The fulfillment of some aesthetic and other pleasures. And then moksha is freedom from seeking. Freedom from seeking in the wake of the knowledge that you are jñāpti svarūpa. So these are the 4 Purusharthas which are, agreed upon by most of the philosophies, except Charvaka. I think it's the only philosophy that does not see the 4 Purusharthas. Because dharma, why? Dharma you need because papa punya is there. What papa, what punya? Do you see papa? No. Do you see punya? No. But I see the effects. Oh, that's just your own conclusion. You are concluding it's the effect. So there is no papa, no punya. If papa punya is not there, then why do you need dharma? Then if Papa Punya is not there, then there is no rebirth. Correct? And so there is no rebirth, then why do you need dharma? Why bother about doing, going according to the law of Ishvara? Do you see the law of Ishvara? No. Shut up. There is no law of Ishvara. There is no need to follow any stupid dharma, non-existent dharma. And then in order to get non-existent punya, in order to, understand the non-existent Atma other than this body. What Atma? Do you see the Atma? Okay, keep quiet. So no dharma. Dharma, big cross over dharma. And then artha, security. Security implies future, okay? So the insecurity in the present is compensated by frantically looking for security in the future. And the Charvaka does not believe in any future than what you can make of yourself. So you have hands, you have legs, so go get what you want, because artha is what? Artha is only kama. Artha is nothing but kama. So the desire for security is just a desire. Why make it into another desire? Just like inference. Inference is based on sight and hearing, etc. And so therefore this desire for security is also based on, it's a form of desire. So go straight to the source. What is the source? Kama. That's the only purushartha. Kama means desire. And how do you know? Because I see it. I have the yearning. I experience it. So I experience the desire for this, that, and or the other. So that's the only goal in life, is to fulfill your Kama. This is sounding like, what is that? Capitalism. Yeah. In English, Charvaka is translated as mechanical materialism. All that there is Kama. Moksha, what moksha? Freedom from seeking. Can you stay without seeking even for a second? Well, no, that's true. Okay, then shut up. Why are you talking? There is no freedom from seeking. There is no oneness. What oneness? Do you see oneness? No. So therefore there is no moksha, cross, there is no dharma, there is no punarjanma, there is forget papa, punya, no, none of those things are there. But what about ajnanam? Moksha relieves ajnanam. Do you see ajnanam? Well, I know that I kind of sense that I don't know. Shut up. What do you not know? I don't know the truth of myself. The truth of myself is what you see. What you see is what you get. That is the truth. It is staring at you in the face. This duality is real. And the way to, live in this duality is to biff out the competition, is to come out, beating your chest and, making some victory sounds, and then be there, and then, that's all it is. Fulfill as many desires as you can, because you just got one life. Make a list, and then make a bucket list, hit out the competition, and then, prevail as best as you can, because this is one chance you got. So this is called Charvaka philosophy. This is the Charvaka philosophy. Very, very sad, but this is how it is. And so these are the two premises of the Charvaka philosophy, and they come in many shades, and all those shades are discussed here. So, these are the two basic premises. What are they? Just to summarize, first one is that there is only pratyaksha pramana that they accept, and the second premise is that they accept only one purushartha, which is what? Kama. Okay. So then the first word, deham iti, what? Viduhu. Viduhu means jananti, they know. They know the deham iti as aham. So bhrantaha, deluded fellows. Brisham vadinaha, vehemently arguing it and elevating this, this big ajnana ghana, this big manifestation of a, big mass of ignorance as a philosophy. Brisham means forcibly, vehemently, vadinaha, arguing it and elevating this nonsensical set of beliefs into a philosophy. Deham ahamiti viduhu. And then there is what is called apara charvaka, second charvaka. Second, what shall we call them? Charvaka 2.0. Like we have upgrades, like USB has gone through so many upgrades. First there was only USB, very slow and everything. And then what, Then there was USB 2.0. Then there is USB 3.0. Little more sophisticated, little quicker, addressing the bugs of the previous version. There is a new version like that. So this is Charvaka 2.0. Who is the Charvaka 2.0? A little more thinking, but still wrong thinking. So what does this fellow say? These fellows, what do they say? These fellows say, you know what, we are a little bit in trouble, because if body is real, then after the death of the body, you should be keeping it around, correct? You should be keeping it around, but even with what is that, embalming, mummification, etc., there is only a certain amount of time the body can be preserved without undergoing change, because the elements are elements are all powerful. So they shrivel up the body, they do all kinds of unmentionable things to the body, and so therefore the body cannot be eternally preserved. If the body is I, it should be real, it should be there. So this is their idea of eternity. So Charvaka 2.0 says, don't get into any trouble. Let us just quietly shift the Deha is real to Prana is real. Prana goes. Don't think about where it goes. Prana departs. And then when Prana departs the body falls. So Prana is Atma. This is the belief of what? Charvaka 2.0. Then what? Then we have Charvaka 3.0. Apara Charvaka. Apara means another one. So the another one has to be slightly more sophisticated. So first one said Deha is real. And then Deha is the only reality. No. Prana is more real than Deha. Charvaka 2.0. Charvaka 3.0. Indriyani. The sense organs are more real than even the prana. The sense organs are much more subtle, and so the sense organs are real. See, even among the Charvakas, they are wanting that one real thing. But they are deluded about it. So Deham, Pranam, cross, Indriyani, Api means in addition, 3.0. Now comes along Charvaka 4.0. Actually, he is not a Charvaka. He means, the generic Purva Pakshi here. So this one is now we are getting into a little more sophisticated. So the first three are various kinds of Charvakas. Charvaka 2.0, Charvaka 3.0, and then the one who says Chalam Buddhim is Atma. Atma means reality. Chalam Buddhim, so that moving Kshanika Buddhi, Kshanika Vijnanavadi, this person is called. Kshanika Vijnanavadi is a kind of a Buddhist, a kind of a Buddha. And what does this Buddha say is that the whole, there is a certain spark, and that spark of cognition which you are able to witness is Atma, and that spark is not real, is not constant, it is a spark. So one spark, another spark. That's why you keep saying I am, as though it's new each time. Each cognition is a spark. Each cognition is a spark. And then another spark. And then another spark. Then what counts? If I'm just a series of sparks of consciousness, I should be like that movie. They made one movie, I forgot the name. And here the protagonist, the heroine, had some kind of a problem, and then could only remember one day. Next day she forgot everything. That is how we would be. But we are not like that. There is continuity, not just from one day to another. I can show you a picture, and say this was me taken when I was 2. And then you can, a person, who is 92 can show you the picture of them as 2 and say this was me. That continuity is there. And so this Kshanika Vijnanavadi, a very big name for this philosophy, Kshanika Vijnanavada, Vijnana, cognition, Kshanika, what is that? Impermanent cognition. I am a series of, the truth of me is a series of impermanent cognition. Adi Shankara says, Bhrantaha sarve, they are all deluded, Brisham vadinaha. And then what, And then there is one more person. And then finally we have this Theravada, what is now called Theravada, Shunyavada. So then the other fellow comes along, the more sophisticated, so to speak, the Buddhist, Buddha comes along, and this is a particular section of Buddhism, practiced in Thailand and some other places called Theravada, where the truth of the I is zero. And is that thoughtless state, is I, and that, thoughtlessness is I. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Sometimes these yoga people are also confused. I have to reach a state of thoughtlessness in order to what? In order to reach the Atma. How long can you be thoughtless? Till you have the thought, oh, that was thoughtlessness, I'm thoughtless. As soon as you say I'm thoughtless, thought has come. Yeah, and so therefore what? You become non-existent each time you think? That's ridiculous. Each time you don't think you are existent, this is the opposite of Descartes. Descartes says, I think I am, and here the Shunyavadi says, I don't think I am. Crazy people, all the whole set of them, completely crazy. I'm going to take a few minutes because this is, I don't want to leave you hanging over the weekend. So, and then so, Shunya means what? Atma is the reality of myself is zero. So because Deha can be dismissed, Prana can be dismissed, Manaha, mind can be dismissed, Chalam, Buddhim, this series of, flickering cognitions can be dismissed, and then what? And then the truth of it is what? What is left? Nothing. What about the one, that awareness that says nothing is left? Is that there or not? These people say that is not there. Bhrantaha, all of them, Shunyavadi and all these things, Brisham vadinaha. And then what? Adi Shankara has some strong words for them. He says they are as good as people who have not studied Vedanta. These people have studied Vedanta. They are at least aware of it because they become sparring partners for us. So that means that they are arguing with us. So they know something about Vedanta, and some of them know a lot of things about Vedanta because their arguments sound very superior and sophisticated without being superior or sophisticated. And so what do they say? They say, they are as good as people who think of themselves as helpless. People who are identified with the body, with the mind, with a sense of victimization, without having studied Vedanta, they are as good as that. So the first one is what? Stree. I'm a woman. I'm helpless. I'm a victim. Especially in Adi Shankara's time, that is what the women were thinking of themselves as. And so, woman, Balaha, I'm just a child, I don't have power, and I am under the spell of the parents' power, I have to listen to them. Helpless, Sri Bala, Jada. Jada means I'm dull. Jada doesn't mean non-existent. Jada means dull. I'm retarded, I'm developmentally challenged, sense of victimization. And then what? And then Sri Balanda Jada, Andha, I am blind. So these are the people who are identifying with the upadhis. Why? Because they don't know better. They haven't studied Vedanta. These are all the upadhis of helplessness. They're all identified with the upadhis of helplessness. Why? Because they haven't studied. They don't know. And they are as good as these people who have studied. Bhrantaha Brisham vadinaha. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.